Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of To The Point podcast. We're here on Wednesday night recording, just following the conclusion of the 2021 World Junior Hockey Championships. Yeah, Tuesday night, a bitter pill to swallow for me as a Canadian. Seeing the United States take home the gold medal. I give them congratulations. They played a hell of a game last night. They played way better than Canada, yet they did not outclass Canada, and I'll touch on that as we get later into the podcast. But yeah, a dominant performance from the United States from start to finish. You know, people could say that the third period was lopsided in shots, but how many high-scoring opportunities did Canada get? Not many. Shot totals can be skewed if all your shots are from the outside and none of them are a real threat to beat the goalie, and especially when you're facing Spencer Knight, who played fantastic last night and rebounded and had a fantastic tournament after being pulled in the opener against Russia. But for Canada, a great tournament, dominant until they get to the gold medal game. And like they have against the United States for the last decade, they choke. That's the easy way I can put it. They've lost 4 straight gold medal game finals to the United States. I mean, I can't be nice today and say that when it comes to junior hockey, the powerhouse is the United States. It's not Canada. And if I want a close second, it's the Finns. The way they've dominated the under 18s, winning 3 gold medals at the World Juniors. Canada is not the superpower right now. And they mentioned on the telecast last night that the Russians aren't either. Well, the Russians haven't been a superpower in hockey for a long time. You know, they won at the Olympics when you couldn't send NHL players. If anybody thinks that they would have won the gold medal if you could send NHL players, send me a note because I'll debate that one until I'm blue in the face. But the United States just have a great program, and you got to give them props. And it starts with their U.S. National Development Program. They're doing more at the minor leagues before you get to NCAA, before you get to the CHL versions of hockey than Canada is, in my opinion. The U.S. National Development Program is spewing out first-round draft picks. 2 drafts ago, of the top 15 picks, 9 of them were from the U.S. National Development Program. And in the first round, they had over 16 kids taken. That's not coincidence. They're spewing out talent. They're building players, and they're built all in different ways. If you look at last night, the tournament MVP, Trevor Zegras, he plays a certain way. Then you have his line mate, Arthur Kaliev, who I think of as a Zach Hyman type. He's a big, strong kid who's going to go in and get the puck for Zegras, who's the Austin Matthews in this correlation, who's not going to go in and get the puck, or the Mitch Marner. They don't do that. They don't like to get physical. And Zegras is like a modern player. He's not going to go in there and get the puck. You could say the same thing for Connor McDavid when he was playing with Zach Kassian. I look at younger players who stepped up way more, and including last night, Matthew Beniers. You might have heard his name a few times. He wasn't on the score sheet, so if you're just looking at stats, you'd be like, well, who the hell is this? He didn't contribute anything. When he had the puck, he made smart decisions with it, and he was just solid in the game. I look at Quentin Byfield in his body of work throughout the tournament. He had one good game, and I thought he played decent last night. Other than that, he was Casper the Ghost. He was irrelevant when it comes to creating opportunities and being a factor in the game. I thought last night, another reason Canada didn't win last night is because the third and fourth line were the best lines for Canada. You know, I talked to my dad today about Dawson Mercer, and he's right. He said Dawson Mercer had a great game, and he did. But when you have limited shifts and you have a great game, you had a great game, but you weren't really involved. Like you did your role, but Canada didn't score. So Mercer had everybody just had an okay game. You know, Philip Tomasino played well last night. I agree. Suzuki was rolling well. You know, players that really didn't show up, a player that didn't show up for Canada this whole tournament was Cole Perfetti, first round pick of the Winnipeg Jets. I don't know what the hell he got a lot of pop, a lot of praise before the tournament. You know, he's leaving with none from me. I haven't even, I didn't see anything from him that really stood out that that loved him as a player. He's a guy that didn't show up. I mentioned Byfield. He could have did more throughout the tournament. And I know, people listening to this will be like, well, they played great and then they lost one game. And that's accurate. Absolutely. But there's one game you have to win, and that's the gold medal game. Tom Brady in 2007, when the Patriots went undefeated and went to the Super Bowl, guess what? He won MVP. Randy Moss caught 24 touchdowns, which is still a league record. But guess what? He lost to Eli Manning and the New York Giants. So guess what? You weren't undefeated. You had that great season, and you leave with just as much as the team that finished dead last and gets – well, actually, the team that finished dead last gets the first overall pick. You get the 31st pick. That's how I look at sports. You can praise and say, if I had a poll, who got to the Stanley Cup final this past year? It was just in October. I remember. But I guarantee if I sent a poll, not everybody would. If you had to just remember off muscle memory and not look it up, I don't think everybody would remember. That just proves my point. Who played in last year's gold medal game? Okay, Canada won. Who played against them? Who lost the year before? Who did Finland beat the year before? Does that team have any kind of pub? Does that team have anything to praise about? No. Because you lost the game you had to win. And I know that may sound harsh, and that's, but this isn't Pee-wee where everybody gets a participation trophy. There's a winner and there's a loser. And Canada lost last night and the United States won. Some more players that really just didn't do it for me last night was Dylan Cousins. Fantastic tournament. Prior to this game, he had 16 points coming in. I think if Canada would have won the gold medal, he would have won tournament MVP, him or Devin Levi. But he was a no-show last night. I told people today he was a garden gnome. Garden gnomes don't do much. They sit there and you can look at it and you can like it or hate it. And that was kind of Dylan Cousins last night. He had no impact on the game. He didn't have any jump. To me, the United States wanted it more last night. Canada didn't want it more. If you want it more, get the puck to the dirty areas, and I mean the slot, which Canada could not do all night. The U.S. played a fantastic game of defending. Canada, they won the shot total battle. Golf clap for you. Great. But you didn't get to the areas you had to score goals. Did the United States do a lot of it? No, but they scored 2 goals. Canada scored none. And they didn't lose because of Devin Levi. But the first goal, the first U.S. goal, Alex Turcotte tips a puck in front of the net. Was Canada ever doing this? No, because the U.S. were boxing out, lifting their sticks, and winning those individual puck battles that Canada could win against the likes of the Czechs and the Slovaks and all these teams that I said were garbage. That they're going to win because you're just more skilled than them. It's a fact of life. The rich get richer. Something similar. That's the analogy here. And it's disheartening for me to see a Canadian team. I come from Canada. I pride myself on hard work, blue collar, just getting in the trenches. And the United States did it better than Canada. And I know it's a one-off tournament. There's a new team next year, but I mentioned before, they've won 4 straight gold medal games against Canada. That's not a small sample size. That's 4 different tournaments with 4 completely different figurations of teams. And the U.S. has won them all. I was there in 2017 in Montreal. It might have been my most disheartening moment as a fan in my life. It goes to a shootout, which should never happen. Shootout shouldn't be in the game of hockey. If I had my goal, it would never happen. I'd rather have a tie than see a game end in a gimmick. A fucking gimmick. But it doesn't matter if it's shootout, if it goes to overtime, if it goes to regulation. The U.S. is beating Canada. So we can say Canada's the best. And I'm still going to think that. I love the team. But I'm not going to say the cake tastes great when it tastes like shit. So it's it's this thing where I think as fans and as Canadians, we need to get off our high horse and really look at things the correct way. And then it's that Canada is still a premier hockey market, premier hockey talent, what have you. But it's not so dominant compared to everybody else. Because if you look at the World Juniors, there's so much parity year after year. It's a changing of the guard. A new team wins. And, I predicted that it would be a Canada-US final. I had friends push back at me saying the Russians would have been their toughest test. I knew Canada was going to beat Russia. And I'm wrong too. I predicted Canada to win against the United States. I can admit when I'm wrong. This is the podcast. I'm going to be completely honest. I thought Canada would win last night. But the United States were clearly the second best team. It's not even close. You can say Finland gave them a run for their money, but they won the game. And then they went up against Canada and they won there too. But I just think Canada is still great and we still have so much hockey talent, but we need to really look at it the correct way. And I don't think we have been for a long, long time here. And it's just time to reevaluate ourselves as hockey fans and just as a hockey nation. A Canadian NHL team hasn't won a Stanley Cup since 1993. 1993. I wasn't born. I don't know. They always talk about the Leafs drought of 67. Well, the Canadians won in 93, and no other Canadian team has won since. And obviously it's a configuration of not just Canadians, but it's just the fact. A lot of these Canadian markets have Canadian people working. It's just time to reevaluate and I think have a different outlook on Canada as a team and as a hockey nation, because the CHL is a great league. I talked to Craig Eagles about it when he's been on here twice. We talk a lot about Q players. In my mind, with the U.S. National Development Program, and you see the likes of Alex Newhook, who's from Newfoundland, go, Dylan Holloway, these great players from Canada. We've seen in years past players going to the NCAA route. I think that's only going to get more and more popular. You go to the NCAA, you get a free education, and you get the experience of, I think, better coaching myself and just more life experience, and just you're playing against men that are 3 years older than you in some cases. And, they're teaching you the way. They're teaching you how to become a man. And I think the Q leaves more opportunities for these boys, so to speak, to leave the Q as boys when they enter the league and when they come to this tournament. But I think the NCAA is going to surpass the CHL in the next 10 years when it comes to the dominant powerhouse when it comes to developing talent for the next level, being the NHL, the AHL, what have you. And, this might sound like a PSA for the United States, but this has been happening for a long time. I mentioned the drafts. The United States have been here for a while. And, this was just a quick bitch slap for everybody to remember that, they've been beating Canada for a while now. Let's touch on the game last night. I mentioned the grander scheme of things, but Canada, their best moments of the game for me was the first 5 to 7 minutes. They were very physical. They're at a good physicality. The first couple minutes, they were grinding, forecheck, shots going back and forth, but they started forechecking. The back check was strong. And I just thought Canada was playing well. They were going toe-to-toe. U.S. really wasn't dominating yet. Canada was starting to get a few slot opportunities, which quickly dried up after the first period. But 7-minute mark of the first period, I mentioned the goal. The U.S. cycling the puck really well, gets to the point. Drew Hellison gets a shot. Turcotte is free to get his stick on the ice. He deflects it, beats Devin Levi 1-0. That was the game winner. That early on into the game. And from Hellison, Trevor Zegras, who recorded his 17th point on the goal. He added one later, but it was, another Achilles heel for Canada in this tournament. The period they went 0 for 1 in the power play. Their power play sucked. in this tournament. I'm just going to be honest. It wasn't creative. It seemed like they just did the same, going through the motions every game, and they went through the motions to no success. It was tough to watch, and I blame coaching a lot on that, because you get morning skates, you get the time you do get on the ice, you need to work on these things, or at least make in-game adjustments. You have iPads, you have everything back there, technology-wise, to look at it and say, okay, this is not working. Let's make a change. And I never saw that from Andre Tourny and his staff. They were just sending the same players out, doing the same thing. And the United States didn't let Canada really breathe. And the big thing that people like to say is, oh, well, the power play got great scoring opportunities. Okay. I'll buy into that. If you get momentum off the power play and then you score quickly after. In this game, I mentioned off the top, the United States beat Canada 2-0. So the scoring opportunities gained from the power play led to how many goals? 1, 2, none. Okay. So that's the hypocrisy of the game. You need to see results. Making a blanket statement saying, well, we gained a lot of momentum off that power play tonight. The coach after the game. Well, did you? You didn't score. There's got to be tangible results. And maybe if this was a series, you could point to that. And then you could say, Noah, you're being too harsh. Because it was a 7-game series, I think Canada would beat the U.S. And maybe the power play that had great scoring opportunities in game 1 could carry over to game 2, and you see something different. But the World Juniors in these medal rounds is like the NFL. It's win or go home. And the power play having great scoring opportunities in the gold medal game means nothing. Nothing. So it's these common phrases you hear in the game that just kind of get on my nerves, because what's a good scoring opportunity if it doesn't go in the net? A player, you say this player, he gets a lot of great scoring opportunities. Well, if he finishes the year with 11 goals, who gives a shit? I'll take a guy who scores 35 and he doesn't score, gets that many great scoring opportunities. But guess what? He shoots the puck, it goes in. Screw scoring opportunities. Give me goals. Get me results. Get him a shoot the puck, hits the goalie, tap it in. Okay, great. Otherwise, screw you. I'm going home. First period was very fast, as was the whole game. The incredible pace in this game from both teams. Really impressive. Really showing that these junior players can play at the NHL pace already. We're going to see a lot of these players go to the NHL camps. I think, the likes of Trevor Zegras will likely make the Anaheim Ducks. I think Jamie Drysdale has an outside chance for Canada to make the Anaheim Ducks. He can go to LA. We got Bowen Byram, who I think could make Colorado. They have a deep defense core, but who knows? And it's just, in the first period, I mentioned Canada's top line. They were on the ropes really the whole game. They're a mess. I didn't see a lot from them. They were on their toes the whole game. And the U.S. top line of Kaliev, Turcotte, and Zegras outplayed them by a country mile. It wasn't close. So frustrating to watch for Cousins and the likes of Cousins and McMichael to really not show up when the team needed them the most. The second period started with a nightmare. You see Cousins, I mentioned him earlier. He's got the puck. He can clear the puck out of the zone. U.S. player stands him up a little bit. So Cousins just sends the puck to the point, doesn't clear. U.S. defender sends it along the boards. I'm sorry, it's Kaliev, the winger. He's got the puck, shoots it along the boards. Canada gets a tough bounce. It gets stuck on the back of the net by drops. So Levi's kind of leading to his left. Zegras can take it, put it on his backhand, empty net, 2-0. And it was a tough break. You got to hope for those good bounces to win gold medals, win big games. But this was 32 seconds into the second period. So you had 2 periods to make this up. So it wasn't it wasn't the death nail by any means. You had so much time for Canada to generate offense and get back in the game. U.S. had complete control to start the second period. I think they did for most of the second period. They were faster, stronger. You saw, the Byfield line was playing the best for Canada. I think they had the best line last night. Perfetti played with him briefly. They should have yanked him off because he's just a non-factor. I won't berate him anymore, but I just think he was doing nothing. I think Jakob Peltier had a good game last night for Canada. Took a lazy hooking penalty in the second period, which I did not care for. Getting beat and then having to hook Kaliev. Kaliev was just a beast last night. I love that guy. He's going to make the NHL. He scored 50 goals in the OHL, and he may only score 20 in the NHL, but he'll be a factor. And he's a guy that can bring it night in, night out. Canada did get their opportunities on the Peltier penalty. Bowen Byram went up. They got an odd man rush. He rang one off the post up from his backhand. A close opportunity with about 6:45 left in the second. But the good opportunities dried up in the second period. They couldn't get anything going. Canada started to gain possession in the last 5 minutes of the second period, but their top lines couldn't get anything going for them. We saw struggles from Cousins and those boys up there, and without help from the big boys, it was really tough for Canada to get on track. We also saw a great performance from Spencer Knight from the United States. I mean, I have to applaud him. He had a tough start to the tournament. I mentioned, the U.S. lost to Russia 5-3 in their opener. He got yanked after three really ugly goals, and I didn't know if they were going to turn to him. In this big game, I thought maybe Dustin Wolf would be the guy, but they go back to Spencer Knight, and he's going toe-to-toe with Devin Levi last night. Levi, who had 3 shutouts coming into the game, .975 save percentage. Levi, 7th-round pick of the Florida Panthers, and obviously Spencer Knight, a 1st-round pick of the Florida Panthers. So a battle of the Floridians in net, and I wouldn't, Spencer Knight played better than Levi, but Levi didn't have a chance on either goal, so you can't blame it on him. But both goalies finished the tournament with 3 shutouts, which ties the record by Justin Pogge. Shutout Justin Pogge. I think the Leafs fans really remember him and love him very fondly. But Spencer Knight, great showing from him. But Canada was changing their lines very frantically. I thought a little too often. I think coaches can. I don't have any problem with coaches making in-game adjustments when it comes to changing lines, but I think you should at least give the line 2 to 3 shifts together so you can try to gain a little chemistry. I think switching it every time you go on the ice is not helpful. Just in my experience playing hockey, you want some continuity. You want to look, feel where your wingers are going to be, where your center is, and everything. And I don't think he gave his players the opportunity to do that. And I wasn't a fan of his coaching in the gold medal game, to be completely honest. I thought he could have been better, and he's had a lot of experience at this tournament as an assistant coach, but I think he's better suited to be an assistant coach than a head coach. Canada outshoots. I mentioned they outshoot them about 12-1 in the third period, but all the shots are from the outside. Even with the goalie pulled, the U.S. really weren't worried. They didn't give up any high quality scoring chances. They kept them to the outside. They defended brilliantly. Really, when they got that 2-goal lead, and in the third period, they played like the Slovaks did against Canada. They did kind of they made a box, and they said, come try to break through. And Canada couldn't do it. So it was a struggle for Canada in that sense. And the game ends 2-0. And Trevor Zegras, 18 points, named tournament MVP. He, deserving. I thought maybe Spencer Knight might get a look just because he tied the record for goaltenders, but Zegras was fantastic. He's got a bright future, really creative hockey player, really fun to watch. He's got that cocky American bravado that you see. I think that can be a good thing or a bad thing. He's depends how you use it. The first game of the tournament, he scored a goal against the Russians that made it 4-3 to make it 4. They were down 4-2. He makes it 4-3, and he gives the Russian bench a stare. Well, that works if you win the game, except Russia scored an empty netter about 2 minutes later, and he loses, and he looks like a hot dog. In this game, I thought he wasn't all about offense, even though he had 2 points. I thought he bought into the defensive structure. So that's promising for his future because, in the NHL, he's not going to have the time, the space to do what he did at this tournament. He's not going to be that dominant playing against grown men. So I thought it showed a little bit from him that he could adopt that style and not just be the creative playmaker scorer that, we've seen in the past 2 World Juniors. But yeah, a great tournament nonetheless. I'm obviously upset for Canada that they didn't take home the gold medal, but a fantastic tournament. I can be happy to say I did not miss a game. I worked some in there and I recorded games in the afternoon. I watched the Austria games. I watched Switzerland versus Germany. It didn't matter. I watched every game of the tournament, and it happens once a year. And that's the beauty of it. You only get it for the 2 weeks and then it's done. So, this year, another thing that was missing just because of, this fucking COVID is the Spangler Cup. Spangler Cup's a tournament I love. It's a tournament that you see a lot of players that used to maybe played in the NHL at one point or having great careers in Europe, and they come together and they just represent their country. It's not about big money. It's not about, they're going to Switzerland, they're sacrificing their Christmases, and they're playing from Boxing Day to New Year's Eve. It's a very, very quick tournament, but I miss watching it. I think of, my cousin Sawyer, his teammate, Zach Fucali, him playing in goal for Canada at the Spangler Cup. It's just a special tournament to me. It's another part of Christmas. So, and, Canada being dominant in that tournament for a long time, it's tough to see. It would have been nice to see them win gold there. And then even if, the juniors lose here, you can say you went 1 for 1 at Christmas. But hopefully we can get back to the Spangler Cup next year. The 22 World Junior Hockey Championships will be in Edmonton and Red Deer again because of the pandemic and no fans. They're going to do it there again. So next year it'll be back in the same buildings. Hopefully, the crowd will be packed with fans. Obviously, I like fans at games, but I mentioned on here, I listen to a lot of my sports with no sound. I prefer it that way. You get people calling games on certain platforms where they have a bias and they try to tell you this is what the play or this is what happened when, that could be a load of BS. I like listening to Gordon Ray. I listen to them when they call a game. And honestly, I really enjoy Craig Button and Dennis Bayak too. I'm not usually a big Craig Button fan, but they had great chemistry. But there's no chance I'd listen to a hockey game on Nesson. I mean, come on. I don't need to hear Jack Edwards say that a tripping penalty should have been a 10-minute checking from behind. And I don't need to hear that. Certain Leafs games, I don't listen to the color because I don't listen to the sound because it's Jim Houston, just doing what Sportsnet tells him to do and just, parading the Leafs out there. It happens everywhere. Every market. You listen to a game, Eddie. I love Eddie Olczyk on NBC. I don't really love listening to Eddie Olczyk call a Chicago game. So everybody's got a personal preference, but that's just another part of it. But I'll mention too. Before the Canada game, we saw the bronze medal. Finland defeats the Russians, takes home a bronze medal. They had won 3 gold medals in this decade, so this is another medal to add to their trophy case. Yaroslav Askarov struggled for Russia against Canada in the semifinal. He played really well, really, really well. He made some big saves. Finland scored 2 goals on tips, and they added 2 empty netters. And it was 1-0 Russia early, and they came back. Big goals from Anton, 2 goals from Anton Lundell, their captain. I thought Vinny Hinola, first round pick of the Winnipeg Jets, he's good. He's really good. I thought Finland has 3 defensemen that you could really say look fantastic. Vinny Hinola, Topi Niemela he's a Toronto Maple Leaf draft pick. I thought he had a fantastic tournament. He's only 18 years old, so he's eligible next year. He looked great. And also Viro on the back end, number 6 for Finland. He's a 18-year-old. He can come back next year too. Those are 3 players that I thought looked really good. Lundell, he had his off and on moments in this tournament. He showed up here, and you could tell Finland wanted that bronze medal more than the Russians. Russia's been dominant in bronze medal games, winning their past 8. But Finland they were hard on pucks. They didn't let Russia. They were beating them. They were beating them to the boards, and you could just tell they really wanted this medal. You saw Lundell when he scored the empty net goal to make it 3-1. It was really special, and this game meant a lot to the Finns. I think they wanted, obviously they'd love to take home the gold, but to come in with a medal after losing in the bronze last year, it's good to see. I like the Finns as a hockey nation, and it's good to see them, live long and prosper here. I'll also mention the Russians and United States. I got a beef with both of them, and it's about class. I'm not talking about, where you are when it comes to your, economic status or what you're doing there. It's about class and losing the right way. So I'll start with the Russians. They lose. Finland's obviously celebrating. They're so excited. The Russians don't line up at the blue line right away. They wait back, and it's almost like they're told that they have to go to the blue line and show some damn respect. And I get it. They're young kids. But I remember playing hockey when I was that age, and I might not be playing at the World Juniors, but when I lost, I shook hands. I lost to friends, and I don't like losing to friends. I like beating them. And guess what? I go shake their hand and I congratulate them, because that's what men and women do. When you're a good person, when you have respect for your opponent, that's what you do. I think of the sport, UFC. It is the most violent sport you're going to find. Maybe rugby. I think UFC is just as bad. And guess what? They have some of the best sportsmanship in sports today. You get your head beat in, and you just trained all that time to make weight and all this, and you still have the decency to go over and shake your opponent's hand, and you give him a little hug. The Russians wouldn't do it. The one player I have to applaud is Askarov. Second tournament, mixed results for him in net, but he goes out there, and he stood at that blue line by himself for probably 3 to 4 minutes by himself. And he showed some class. He lost, but he respected his opponent. And I applaud him for doing that, because that takes more guts than it does for all those other players to sit back there like cowards and just fuck around or whatever they're doing back there. When you lose with some humility and lose with some dignity. You need to know how to win, but you need to know how to lose too. Because if you learn how to lose, you don't like it, you'll rebound better. But at least show some class. And it's not that much to ask, and I don't think a lot of nations know how to do it yet. And maybe that's on the coaching staff and on minor hockey coaches to teach these nations how to lose. Then the Americans. Obviously, they win the gold medal. Congratulations. But they bring out this little, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like this banner sort of thing with Canada on it. And they're basically making fun of Canada for beating them. Quick little phrase, all mass, no class. And that's kind of the US. That's how they've been for a long time. Great hockey nation, great players, no class. Another nation that needs to learn how to lose. Show some fucking respect. Okay, you won the game. Way to go. But, I wish this was a 7-game series and that was the first game, because I think, Dylan Cousins wouldn't be a Garden Gnome the next time out, and he'd come out and play. But we're not going to get that opportunity, unfortunately. But it's tough. I didn't like the way that was handled. the pitcher with that little floaty thing. You can look it up online. It's typical American. That's what I'm gonna say. It's just Americans being Americans. I know that may sound harsh, but I've seen it too many times at these tournaments of Americans being hot dogs and pimping out, so to speak, a victory. And they won. You have your gold medals. Go celebrate, but don't be a jackass when you're doing it. So we've seen this at this tournament before. The Swedes have threw a silver medal over the glass. It just learn how to lose and accept it. It's not easy. Shed a few tears, but lose the right way, and then the rest of your career, you can at least have that and say, well, I was a good person. I had this to put on my mantle. Yeah, just it's a frustrating night. Obviously, I wanted Canada to win, and I had to get that out here today. I'm kind of a fired up podcast here. I want to talk about a bunch of different ideas, so hopefully that can spread into the NHL coverage going forward. Also, I just want to touch on some stories around the NFL. The Browns are kind of in dire straits right now. Cleveland Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski, their top O-lineman Joel Bitonio have tested positive for COVID-19. The past 2 weeks, they've placed over 20 players on the reserve COVID-19 list. Bitonio, Stefanski are both not going to be available on Sunday night. Stefanski, this has been his first game, first head coach in a playoff game. He's not going to get that opportunity, and I feel bad for him. He's coached in the playoffs with the Vikings last year, but it's not the same thing. Being the head coach, getting the Browns, for first time since 2002 to the playoffs, it's a special moment, and it's unfortunate he's not going to get to be there to go up against, their storied rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also, Bitonio, he's been there for 8 years. He's been through the tough times going 0-16. He's the longest serving Brown on the team, and for him not to get to play in the playoff game, it just doesn't seem right. It seems like 2020 leaking in here to 2021 with all the craziness happening in the United States. And I'm not talking crazy bad when it comes to what people are protesting. I stand firmly behind them, but it's just another sign of this year and what COVID's done. It's not fair. Praise on everybody, and so speedy recoveries to Stefanski and Bitonio. Hopefully they can be asymptomatic, and if the Browns can pick up a win, maybe they can return to the field and to the sideline for the divisional game. Chase Young, he made some statements this week. He's the second overall pick in this round's draft. They're playing Washington. He plays for the Washington football team. He'll be going up against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. He said he wants Brady. He said he wants him, wants to go up against him, wants to sack him, not afraid of him. He wants this matchup. I love the confidence of the kid. He's a rookie going up against, some say the GOAT. You better back it up. That's all I got to say. That D-line, you better back it up. And I think making these statements, you should make them from a position of strength. So what I mean by that is Washington, their strength is their defense. So check. But does your team have enough offensively to score points? You could play a great game. Chase Young have 2 sacks, what have you. But, the Bucs could score 17 points, 15 points and win this game because Alex Smith can't move anymore. And the Tampa Bay defense is probably going to rough him up. So the Bucs could win this game 15-12, and then you didn't really do your job because you lost. So I think for these young players, I love the confidence coming into the league, but just be aware of what's in front of you and what kind of problems that you could face going forward. Also some firings. Adam Gase was fired from the Jets. No surprise there. Anthony Lynn fired from the Chargers. I mentioned all these on Monday, but so you have the Jacksonville job open. Doug Marrone was fired. Jacksonville, Houston, Atlanta. You got the Chargers. A lot of good opportunities. If I'm a head coach, The Texans is also available. If I'm a coach, I'm going to take the Chargers job. I want the Chargers job. You got Justin Herbert, who proved he can be an NFL quarterback, that he's a good one. His rookie year, 31 touchdown passes, and that team's full of talent. They got Keenan Allen, who's a top-end wide receiver, Hunter Henry, who looks great, Casey Hayward on defense, Joey Bosa, get him healthy, Kenneth Murray in the middle out of Oklahoma. You got Mike Williams. You got all the requisite weapons. Austin Eckler in the backfield. You know, they lost 6 games this year by 4 or less points. You win half of those, you're in the playoffs. So the right coach with Herbert unleashing that, it could be very dangerous. So of all these jobs, you know, Jacksonville's going to have $100 million in cap room. Likely select Trevor Lawrence since he declared for the NFL draft today from Clemson. But I like the Chargers because they have their team set. The players have played together, so there's continuity. You know, rookie quarterbacks, Herbert didn't, to his credit, he didn't have a lot of struggles. He made a few bad picks here and there. He probably should have beat Kansas City in his first start. He threw across his body, made a rookie mistake. He's going to be a sophomore. I'll ride with him on a rookie deal, get a good head coach, plunge, and go all in, because I think the Chargers are really close to being a threat. It's tough because they're in a division with the Chiefs, but you know, take that challenge head on and you know, try to buck the trend here. But yeah, that's all I really have for you today on To The Point. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be starting my NHL coverage. So I'm going to be breaking down each division. So all 4 around the NHL. I'm going to start with the Canadian division tomorrow. So I'll be talking about, you know, Canada, about Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, you know, the teams, what they did in the offseason, how I see their seasons going, what to look out for, and, you know, big games on the schedule. So, the World Juniors, it's flying by now. The NFL is on the downward slope, but the NHL starting, the NBA, I'm going to be getting more into that as we go along. I think I'm going to be doing some UFC coverage as well. That's starting up again next weekend. So I'll keep you posted on what's happening here To The Point. But just subscribe and be ready for more and more content. But like I said, I'll be on here tomorrow. So we'll chat then and have a great evening.